What's going on, y'all? This is The Jersey Doesn't Come Off. I am Freddie Goodman, and I have here with me...
It's Donovan Kennedy, and we also got...
Connor Johnson over here down in Florida.
Word, he's living it up down there, folks. All right, so, we've been talking a little bit about what we should do, for this episode, and we kind of just figured, it'd be really criminal to have a sports podcast that doesn't talk about the NBA draft. So this episode, we're going to be talking about just the NBA draft, basically. We're going to start off, we've been looking at a lot of mock drafts, and everybody has the top 5 picks in different positions. Some of them I don't really agree with. Some of them everybody else doesn't really agree with. So, what I'm saying? We're gonna
Freddie,
see.
you were speaking some passionate truths about one prospect in the draft. Why don't you start us off with your top 5?
Okay, so my top 5, I feel personally, right? Anthony Edwards, James Wiseman, LaMelo Ball, Obi Toppin, and then Denis Avdija, whatever.
The guy from Israel.
Yeah, the guy from Israel. I think that's the top 5. That's my personal top 5.
Give us why you got Anthony Edwards going 1 over LaMelo. How about that?
Okay, so this draft class doesn't have an insane amount of shooters, but there are certain intangibles that I feel like you can kind of see that players have before that they get into the NBA that shows you they're really built for the league and they're not going to fold, basically. And I was watching some film on Anthony Edwards, and he has a very solid bag. He can finish at the rim really well. He was a little streaky in college, I'm not going to front. And his shooting percentages weren't the best, but I feel like that's something that you can work on. Every year you have all this time in the offseason, you can pick one thing to work on. I think if he works on his shooting, it's gotta be shooting. Yeah, I think it would definitely make sense as to why he would go number 1. And I think his shooting is better than LaMelo's, low key.
Ooh, I don't know about that one.
Donovan, who's your top 5?
So I'm giving it to LaMelo. I kind of have to. So I'm going LaMelo, James Wiseman, Anthony Edwards, Obi, and then I'm going really weird with my 5th pick, and I'm going RJ Hampton.
Really?
I know he's a little underrated right now, but I think the Cavs could really use a player like him. But Anthony Edwards, I just want to talk about him right now. You have him going first. Are you worried about his workout that he did? We heard a lot about it before. He did the televised workout for all the teams. LeBron was there, all these players were there. Apparently his shot looked worse somehow. So a lot of people are saying after college his shot only got worse and it looks more sluggish and lazy than it ever has. Does that worry you?
Honestly, not too much. I think that, a work ethic can be developed. I think if you get your ass kicked enough times in anything, it's going to force you to take a hard look at yourself, what you want, and how you can get better. And that's for anybody with anything. And I think, it's the pandemic. He might not have had access to, a hoop or whatever. I very much so doubt that Anthony Edwards was a huge gym rat through all of this and was out here playing ones or going to trying to find a park or something like that just to get some shots up. So I think that if he gets a little bit of work, he can kind of work himself into a little bit of a groove, and he gets with one of these shot coaches, one of these shot doctors, I think he'll be all right. Because, if you look back a couple years ago when Kawhi was in the draft, his shot was not it. But the Spurs had a great shot doctor. I
remember those days.
And now you see how strong his mid-range game is. So
it's one of the best in the league.
Exactly. So, that's what I think. I think, it's something that it can be worked on. There are certain things that you as a player I think if you don't have that, like you're fucked basically. But I think a shot is something that anybody can work on. And the funny thing is too, so LaMelo's shot form, LaMelo's a little streaky from three for me, and he sometimes
Really?
crosses his
okay.
legs right when he shoots, and he kind of like falls back a little bit. Like his form is just, it's weird.
It's kind of a fade. It's like a tiny little fade when he does it.
Yeah, like his legs kind of drift in front of him just a little bit.
It's kind of like a JJ Redick shot though, where he kind of looks for that extended feet. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's how he gets his space. And I remember, I think it was a couple of years ago. Exactly. It was a couple of years ago when he was shooting all those, half court shots all the time. It was because he was so short. He was trying to make up for being short by fading, so it was harder to block his shot.
Yup.
And he just, I guess, never grew out of the habit, which, obviously that's something that's not too hard to fix. Like, it's definitely going to change your shot a little bit, but it's pretty easy to fix not fading back every shot. But I think the reason I have LaMelo going first, and I don't think it's going to be to the Timberwolves with the number 1 pick, honestly. I think the Timberwolves are going to trade down to get a different pick, and somebody else is going to snag him. Because, well, if we look at the Timberwolves, he's not a great fit. He's a point guard. You already have D'Lo. You already have Cat. He's too ball dominant. So I think, honestly, I either have the Bulls or, and this is going to be really weird, but I could see the Wizards trading up.
Really?
I could.
And you mean trading up for LaMelo?
Trading up for LaMelo.
Interesting.
And the only reason I say that is because, you know what? We're going to see John Wall come back this year for the Wizards. But I think if they compared John Wall, Bradley Beal, and LaMelo, because LaMelo's a natural one.
Yeah.
But
He's very good at passing.
More. Exactly. But he can play off ball too. And we saw that when he played with his brothers. He doesn't always have to have the ball because, Lonzo had the ball when the three of them played together. So I think he can play that three because he has the height. He's 6'6". He can play a small three.
That's
with
fair.
Bradley Beal at the 2 and John Wall at the 1 and develop that passing skill set with John Wall. I think it could be insane.
Wait, we're getting too ahead. Connor, what's your top 5?
All right, my top 5. I'm going to start at 5 and go up.
All right.
I think the Israeli dude is going to go to Cleveland because I don't think that they're going to pick a guard with Colin Sexton and Jared Culver. And they have Andre Drummond, so I don't think they're going to take a center or a big man that is not going to play over him.
Right.
So I think they need wings. They need somebody that is going to be decent this year. And I think of the guys in the top 5, I think the Israeli dude, from what I've seen his play, I don't think he's going to be a great pro, but I think he could be a guy has a lot of upside real quick, if that makes sense.
Yeah, he's a good plug and play.
Yeah, I think he could be he's very similar. I don't want to call him like a Duncan Robinson type, but I could see him having a similar role where he's just expected to
pop off shots, catch and shoot.
Yeah, kind of be a 3-point shooter and kind of be like kind of their utility player on the wing.
Yeah, kind of how they play Cedi Osman.
Right, that's exactly what I was thinking. I think 4, I think the Bulls they take Obi Toppin.
I like it.
I think he's going to give them a lot of explosion, and I think they're going to be moving on from either Markkanen or who's the other guy they have? The guy from Duke.
Okay.
I know who you're talking about. But I thought he paired pretty well with Lauri Markkanen.
I think he could, but I just don't think Markkanen's a plan for their future.
Okay.
I think he's also a guy they could trade and get a pick for, which I think the Bulls are prioritizing right now. And that end of the Bulls, they have the point guard from they drafted last year. Who was the guy from?
Kobe White,
yeah.
Kobe White, yeah. They're trying to build around him, so they might be moving on from Levine and Markkanen this summer. I mean, they already got rid of Chris Dunn.
Yeah.
Chris Dunn, yeah.
Yeah, so I think they're going to want to set up a pick and roll type offense built around Toppin's athleticism and pick and pop ability plus Kobe White's point guard abilities, and then kind of surround the team with shooters. And that does kind of fit Markkanen, I guess, but it really doesn't fit Zach LaVine's game, so I could see one of them going. 3, I have the Hornets taking Anthony Edwards.
Okay.
What?
I think Michael Jordan is going to be a big fan of Anthony Edwards, and he's going to be in there making sure he's working out. If Jordan actually cares that much, I could see that happening. But Anthony Edwards goes to a team that needs people to shoot the ball and to score the ball, and that's what Anthony Edwards does. 2, I have James Wiseman. I think him at the Warriors is about as good a fit as it can be, and he's probably my pick right now for Rookie of the Year next year.
Thank you. I'm glad that you said that.
Just because he's going to be playing with potentially the greatest starting 5 of all time from a few years ago, 3 out of 5 of them, he's not going to be expected to do much other than just block shots and not fuck up pretty much.
Yeah, but see, because he isn't going to be able to really show out, because they're going to be like, there's no reason for Golden State to rush him.
He'll get his touches. Oh, he'll start right away. As soon as he touches that court, he'll start.
Interesting.
I can guarantee.
Could you imagine a lineup where it's Steph Curry and James Wiseman running pick and rolls and having the shooters around them and having a 5 built around those two?
It'd be disgusting. And that's my thing, is that I know it'll be disgusting, but if the Warriors are going to bring him along slowly, that might be disgusting in like 2 years.
There's no need to bring him along slowly because they already have a good enough team to cover whatever he's gonna mess up.
Plus, they're gonna going to really good teams is also how you get really good too.
It's so easy to be good when there's amazing players around you.
Right. There's a reason why Kawhi Leonard became the player and the type of player he is, and I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that he went to the Spurs.
With Tim Duncan and Tony Parker there to just mentor him.
Yeah, Wiseman's incredibly talented. He's going to a team full of some of the best players at their position of all time. A great coach, great organization. Like, this dude could be a Hall of Famer if they play him right. Like, that's how good this team and this talented guy is. Like, it could be a perfect fit for him.
100%. He plays like prime DeMarcus Cousins with a better shot.
Yeah, no,
that's all I need to know. That's all I need to know. You give me prime DeMarcus Cousins with a good shot, you're winning every game.
He's mobile enough that they can have multiple lineups built around him too.
Oh yeah, he's deceivingly fast and he's physical.
You think this is the return of the Hamptons Death Lineup 2.0?
I'm ready for it.
Yeah.
All right, Connor. Who you got going number 1 though?
First pick, I have LaMelo Ball.
Yes, sir.
So here's my thinking. Karl Anthony Towns is a really, really good player in the league.
I agree.
He's not a marketing guy. He's not a face of the franchise. Like, I want to go watch him play kind of guy. For many people, D'Angelo Russell, great scorer, not that great a defender. Get that. And also not a face of the franchise. I want to sell tickets to go watch this, or I want to buy tickets to go watch this guy kind of play.
Ice in my veins, really?
Wow.
I just don't think I think inside the basketball community he is, but I think if you just look at the sports community overall,
the average fan
I don't think either of them are real.
Yeah, but okay, see,
right? And
I don't. All right, now I'm let me go back to it real quick, but
let me finish up here. Okay, Karl Anthony Towns the same way. I think LaMelo Ball doesn't have the baggage that his older brother had. I think his dad's a lot more relaxed and calmed down, so I don't think it's going to be that big an issue. LaMelo Ball is also super popular with the kids, just because the Ball brothers are in general. LaMelo Ball is a potential, I don't want to say a Michael Jordan figure, just because I don't think he's that talented, but he could one day he could be like a club legend to the Timberwolves and kind of put them on the map. And he's really the only guy in this draft that can do that. And that's kind of the player you want at number 1.
I could definitely agree. He has the personality on top of the ability to make him well-known.
Playstyle-wise, I actually think him, Russell, and Towns are a good trio. Just because I think Russell and Ball are good enough off the ball and will only get better playing off the ball, playing with each other. I also think it's a really good spot for LaMelo Ball, just being away from Los Angeles and being away from a lot of press and media that's going to be hounding him, and then hounding rookies their first year and their first picks every year. I think him going to a team where he's going to be the third option, possibly, is only going to be a good thing for him.
I could agree. It's a little easier to develop when you don't have people hounding you 24/7. Like we saw with D'Lo in Los Angeles, you know.
No
Just got
matter who,
hounded
no
on
matter,
him.
no matter who the Timberwolves pick here, either whether it be Edwards or LaMelo Ball, I think they're gonna start off the better player between the two of them, just because they're not gonna have to go up against the best defender every night. They're not gonna be the focus of the game plan every night, for now anyway, like the guy on Charlotte or whoever goes to 3 would be. And I think Anthony Edwards would be better at handling the overall spotlight of carrying the whole team on his back or being the focal point of the offense and like defensive focus right now better than LaMelo could. So that's why if I was the Timberwolves, I would pick LaMelo because I think he has a higher ceiling.
Wow.
Do you think that the Timberwolves are going to keep that number 1 pick? So we've heard a lot because they have a later lottery pick in the draft. They have 17. So they have 2 pretty high picks. They have 1 and 17. I like that. They've been talking a lot about getting more role players. Do you think they trade their number 1 pick to get a higher pick than 17? So do kind of a double pick. They would get, say, 2 picks from like the Knicks or somebody.
No.
And to just get 2 higher guys instead of 1 really high guy and 1 kind of medium.
If I was the Timberwolves and I'm trading that number
Do you have
1
any
pick,
common sense.
I
say
want
no?
I want an all-star level player currently for that. I don't want another pick for a first pick. Because if you're trusting your draft to find 2 good role players, why not just trust your draft to find the next Devin Booker and whoever you pick number 1?
No, I can respect that.
So if you're going to trust your
Also-
draft process and your scouts, pick number 1 and pick 17. Because that's potentially a star player and a role player. And why would you trade the star player just for 1 or 2 more role players?
Also, too, my thing is, okay, you haven't been in like playoff conversation or like chip conversation since Jimmy Buckets was on the team. So why you?
Even then, they were barely making the playoffs. Yeah.
Yeah. So why? So knowing that, why would you like go and try and get a couple of role players? Like, okay, so D'Angelo Russell is super tough. Like, I really do love what he did with the Nets, and I think that developed him a whole lot. And I think he even came further along when he was with the Warriors. But
I'd agree.
I don't know if I'm quite ready to like give him the keys to a franchise. You feel me? So I don't know if I'm immediately gonna say, yeah, we're just gonna get some role players to like fill in around you. Like, I think we gotta build up that big 3 first, which is why I feel like Ant-Man is such a good complement to them, because, you know, when you put Ant-Man in, he'll be able to take care of business. And you can also you'll have to bring him along fairly quick, but not as quick as, say, like you had to bring John Morant along.
Right. It's a little harder to develop that skill.
So, Donovan, there's a few trades that I would take if I was the Timberwolves.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Let's hear them.
It would have to be for a Bradley Beal type player.
See, but I like that for the Timberwolves. If the Timberwolves can get a good mid-level guy to fit with their 2 young stars, they would make their own big 3 there. And I don't think they need LaMelo Ball at all.
You're right, but I'm
And I
not
don't think he
trading
fits.
the number 1 pick for other picks is my point. If the Wizards say, hey, we'll give you
Okay,
Bradley
that I
Beal
can
for the number 1
respect.
pick, I take that.
Okay, I can respect that.
But I'm not taking 3 New York Knicks picks unless they're
No,
all
okay.
like for the number 1 pick, you know?
No, because who wants the Knicks to be good? It's funnier when they're bad.
Oh, no, I completely agree, but my point
Right.
was I'm not taking a package of picks in the future
Okay.
for the number 1 pick this year. I would just take LaMelo or take Anthony Edwards and trust your team, you know?
Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying. So my issue with... So I think LaMelo will go first. That is undoubted in my mind. But I think it's not going to be to the Timberwolves. And my reasoning for that is because the Timberwolves just don't fit too well with him. Like, he's a really good player, and he can play that 3. But I think what the Timberwolves have right now, which is D'Lo, Cat, and all their, sophomore guys that'll be coming up this year, I think that alone and adding maybe a couple key role players, like their 3rd star, would be so much more valuable for them in the long run. because if the Timberwolves want to compete, it's going to have to be soon. You know, we see all these teams getting better and better. If they want to compete in this league, they can't go with a young guy because it's too much to develop them with two other younger guys. So you have such a young roster then, and without that experience, it's going to be really hard for them to play well in the playoffs and go far because, you know, you've got LeBron.
I disagree with the part about them trading players to get more role players. I think if you look at the West right now, you need as much just talent as you can get. And if you play 7 dudes, if that 7 is the perfect rotation, that's all you need. So I would take quality right now over quantity of players.
No. Not saying get more players. I'm saying with their picks, use that to get players. I wouldn't get rid of any of their current players because they have a good roster. Like, it's sneaky good right now.
No, I agree, and that's why I'm saying is if you want to compete with, like, look at the Suns just got a lot better today. The Mavericks are looking at players. Portland could be healthy. Like, there's a lot of good teams in the West, and if the Timberwolves want to get there, they have to be getting as much just high-end potential talent as they can.
Okay.
I agree.
So I think they got to keep that pick.
The West has been a dogfight for years. And it's getting harder. So, like, I just don't... Like, you either need to be like the Knicks where you're just like, fuck it. We're a cool place to play at because of the city.
30th place in the year.
Yeah. Or, you know, be actively trying to compete. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to be one or the other, I feel like, at this point.
More like
especially
the
right
Thunder.
now. Or the Thunder. Exactly.
No, I understand that. So, when you're looking at, you know, your top 5, whatever, who out of this draft do you think could have the best career
Overall,
when it's all said and done?
My pick is Wiseman.
I like it. Fred?
Even though I say Ant-Man, I have to say LaMelo for this one. Because
career.
Yeah, because LaMelo's your IQ, I feel like in basketball is going to be what adds those extra years to your contract when you're 30 and 35 and, you know, you out here, you end up getting to a point where you're pushing 40. Like your
Chris
IQ
Paul.
is what exactly. Like, look at Chris Paul. He's a little undersized, but his IQ and the fact that he's 35 and teams know once you add him, you're going to the playoffs. Like,
yes.
That IQ is what is exactly, that's what's going to save you. And I think at the end of the day, you know, LaMelo, he can work with the shot doctor. Players change their shots all the time. He can end up becoming a solid 20, 25 points a game scorer. And his IQ, by the time he gets in the league, things slow down for him. His IQ can shoot up like a shit ton. And then once that happens, you know, now later on down the road, you could see LaMelo potentially being somebody where it's like, okay, well, we know if we have him, he can read the defense and call out what the defense is going to do before they even do it. So I would say LaMelo for that.
My pick is Wiseman. Just like I was getting back to what I was talking about earlier with the team and the system that he's going to, is he could have a Tim Duncan-like career where he wins 5 or 6 titles, hypothetically. I think that could happen.
Oh, 100%.
Okay.
Just because he may win a few when he's younger in the next few years with Golden State. Like, I could easily see Golden State winning a few more titles if he goes there and he gets good. He was the best player in college basketball last year before he was suspended.
Which was trash.
No,
it was so trash that they suspended
that suspension was bullshit.
I agree.
Honestly.
I agree. But when he was on the court, he looked like the best player in the country. And I think if it was any other team besides a team that had a big guy at like their best player, like the Timberwolves do, I think Wiseman's going 1. You know, I think if Golden State had the first pick, I think they're taking Wiseman still. I think even if Charlotte had the first pick, they'd take Wiseman.
Yeah, he's too good to leave him on the board.
The dude is. We've been seeing a lot of centers kind of been going away from the paint a lot more and more while also keeping a really good post game. And I think if you look at what an NBA center is in 2020, you could argue the next evolution of it could be James Wiseman.
Oh
You know,
yeah,
he's
you're looking
7
at a Cat, a Joel Embiid type,
You know, he's 7
but
foot
even more
230.
offensive.
He can dribble. He can run like somebody who's like 6'8". He's got a good outside shot. He can put the ball on the floor and go to the rim. Like this dude's like he's what centers in the league are becoming. And go into a team that prioritizes space and movement. And let's be honest, like Golden State hasn't really ever had a center or a player with Wiseman's type with skill set, because you could argue
No,
he's similar to
never.
Draymond, but he's 5 inches taller than Draymond.
And he's better offensively than Draymond.
Exactly.
Yeah, way better than some of the centers that they've had in the past, like, you know, Bogut
Andrew
and
Bogut.
shit.
The Warriors were beating up on dudes with JaVale McGee as their center.
Exactly.
Hey, respect JaVale McGee. Respect JaVale McGee.
Dude's got a lot of
He tries his
championships now.
best.
Trust me, I respect the hell out of him. But James Wiseman, I think, is a much better player.
Oh, 100%. I think even just looking at their rookie years, I think James Wiseman's going to blow out most centers.
So, outside of the lottery, do you guys have any later first or maybe second round sleepers you're looking at? Donovan, you mentioned one earlier. I have in my mock draft, or for the Sixers anyway. I have the Sixers taking R.J. Hampton.
Oh, really? You think he's going to be on the board that late?
I think he's gonna fall, but I could also see the Sixers moving up to get him. But
I'm going to say the Sixers have the 21st pick this year.
Yeah, they have
So,
five. They have like 5 second rounders. They could flip a few of those and move up 4 spots, I think.
Yeah, I think we'll eventually use them to trade for players, but
I don't. Yeah, it's an option, but I
because
think
they're very packageable.
for the Sixers anyway, I think the Sixers. I'm looking at Cole Anthony,
I was
R.J.
going to say
Hampton,
Cole Anthony.
and a guy from Kentucky, Tyrese Maxey. I'm hoping he falls to 21
Mm-hmm.
because I think all 3 of those guys are guys that can create their own shot, which the Sixers need, and they're guys that can space the floor and play without the ball, which the Sixers also need. And I don't know, Sixers have been good at drafting guards lately. I mean, Shamet has been good, Shake Milton's been good, Matisse Thybulle obviously is very good. I could see the
Yeah.
Sixers finding what they need here.
I think a lot of rumors have us taking Theo Maledon. He's from France. He's a point guard, but you know, we saw in the playoffs last year and most of the bubble, Ben wasn't playing the 1 anymore. We've been playing Ben at the 4. And if, you know, the Sixers do what people are hoping they do, I'm not going to say I'm hoping, that's a lie. I'm hoping they trade Al Horford. So if we can move out Al, we move Ben back to the 4 for the rest of the season, and then we have a point guard come in, because let's be honest, Shake Milton does not cut it at the point. You know, I love Shake.
Not at all.
But he's
Not
too
at all.
streaky, and his passing isn't even close to good enough for us to run point.
This isn't draft related, but I hope the Sixers traded for Drew Holiday.
Oh my God, I will cry if we get Drew back. I'm not even gonna lie. I would love us to bring back a lot of these old guys from the early process years. Dario Saric is on our list of targets this year, apparently.
I think if the Sixers have Drew Holiday, honestly, out of all of the postseason moves, I would like to see that probably the most. You get a Ben Simmons who can shoot better. Like, what's not to like?
Freddie, we've had Drew Holiday. We really liked him.
Yeah, we did.
That's what I'm saying.
Wow, back in the days, man, when we knew we were gonna be bad.
Freddie, do you have any players in the post lottery that you like?
No, well, you had just said Cole Anthony. I've been looking at a lot of Cole Anthony film, and I really like his game. I mean, you said everything about this man. Like, this man is a really solid 3-point scorer, in the sense that the first point being close to the basket, layup finishing and stuff like that. Second point being the mid range, and then the third point being 3-pointers. He's really good at all 3. So I like Cole Anthony. Right now, the mock draft that I'm looking at has him going to the Celtics, which, I mean, I don't.
He won't
Yeah,
get any playing time there.
exactly. And then now I'm really concerned about his development. Like, he has a lot of potential, and I would want him to go somewhere where he can actually develop. So.
Yeah. He'll be more of a coming off the bench guy rather than ever in the starting lineup. You got Kemba starting over you 100%. That's not non-negotiable.
Yeah, and Kemba's gonna go off for 2 points in 48 minutes while you got to watch from the bench.
Yeah, that one's gonna hurt. But I think a couple guys that I'm looking at, RJ Hampton, obviously, he skipped college. I think he's developed a lot more than most of these guys where he can just start playing immediately.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, a lot of the mock drafts have him going to Portland up at 16, which I think is good. I don't think he'll go any higher just because he dropped a lot. Because, you only saw him play so much. But the other guys I'm looking at, Trey Jones, from Duke. His brother's in the league, but I think he'll be way better than his brother. He's more athletic and he's a better passer, and he's like a true guard. He'll make instant impact, and they have him going to the Heat right now at number 20, and I think that'll be a good look for him. Goran Dragic to teach him some stuff, and probably halfway through the season we'll replace him.
I think, yeah. I mean, honestly, so Goran was coming off the bench initially, so I feel like they could just alternate for real until he gets to a point where like he can start. So
yeah, trade off every other game.
Yeah.
And then another guy that I really like who has got a lot of press, but we haven't heard too much about his game, Nico Mannion. I don't know if you guys remember him.
He's I watched a little bit of him at Arizona. I just remember him. He's a classic white boy player where he's like full court defense, like high energy type player. I like that.
He's like
I think it's a good bench. He could be a good bench guy.
He's like a Tyler Hero where he comes off, he gives you a bunch of points, but he has better playmaking than Tyler Hero.
Okay.
So he can be more effective on those wings. Like he doesn't have to create his own shot. He can create a shot for somebody else too.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And he also plays the 3, so it's kind of nice that you can put him 1 through 3.
No, I think that's definitely somebody on my second round board. I think he's very similar to a lot of guys in this draft. I think the top 3 guys are the guys I think that could potentially be all-stars, potential like franchise centerpieces, but the rest of the draft seems like there's a lot of good role players out there. It seems like there's a lot of good like contributing bench pieces and like maybe low-level starters. I don't know if there's a lot of like star power, but there's a lot of talent in this draft that could be good, Oh,
100%. I think last year what we saw was a lot of star power. And, the talent was there more or less. But I think this year the skill level went up so far. And I think we're going to see that in these next couple years. Because, you see kids like Bronny's age and Dwayne Wade's son's age, Zaire. And they're just already so good. And they still have time to develop.
They haven't even gotten to college yet where they get really good.
Kids are developing younger and younger now. And it's so scary. You see kids that are 13 cooking grown men.
Bro, basketball, like everything else, this generation is so much better. Like, I mean, and this is just a little tangent. I mean, so I think I've mentioned on the pod before, I'm a skateboarder. I've been skateboarding for like 10 years or whatever. And I remember when I was coming up with a lot of my friends and we were skating and stuff, how the certain tricks, right, that were like kind of hard, that would be your ender trick for video parts, and now you have 10-year-olds doing that for Instagram clips. So all the way around, son, like
social media, man.
Yeah, like all the way around, like the younger kids are getting so much better, and they're getting better fast. It's kind of terrifying. Yeah.
I'm like feeling like an old man already, and I'm like, wait, I'm only 22. Like, how are you this good already?
How are you cooking me? Like, why I shouldn't feel like I'm 36.
Nah, I still got some life left in me.
Yeah.
You know who else has life in them?
Who?
The Sixers, finally. So, a lot of what the Sixers are looking at, I want to talk about trades. Just to cap things off, because
let's finish up with a couple trades.
There's so many things that can happen. We saw Chris Paul get traded first, opening trade to the Suns. So obviously Sam Presti, executive of the year in my mind, but that's neither here nor there.
I just want to say before you continue with this, within the last hour, James Harden declined his $50 million extension with Houston.
$50 million.
So the floor is yours, Donovan. Talk to him. Let him know what's up.
All right. Delusional Sixers fan time. James Harden to the Sixers. We keep Joel. We keep Ben. I'm happy. It's not going to happen. It's not. I'm giving up on that because if we get James Harden, one of our stars is gone, no matter what anybody says. And I'll be sad. But rumor has it he only wants to go to the Knicks now. That's the only place he's accepting to go.
The Knicks or the Nets?
Excuse me, the Nets. That's the only place he wants to go. He wants to play with Kyrie. He wants to play with KD. He wants to be on a super team.
Go let that happen, Donovan. I'm not afraid of that. There's only one ball in the court.
Happens? Do we think it happens, though? Is it plausible?
I don't know if it would work even if it did happen.
Connor, you're probably going to say...
there's one ball.
There's only one ball.
There's one ball.
There's one ball.
There's one ball.
One of the trainers that I watch, right, trying to improve my own game a little bit, his name's Devin the Lab. Check it, shameless plug. Check him out if you're listening. I watch his film sessions, and today's film session, he was saying how while you might say there's one ball, everybody is Super Bowl dominant. When Kyrie and LeBron were together, Kyrie was predominantly playing off ball. When Kevin Durant was in Golden State, while he was trying to get into his ISO bag, and that definitely cost them a little bit in the Houston series, he can be a little bit more sharing with the ball. And then the other factor is, right, James Harden, when he was way back in the day, OKC days.
Right.
He was a facilitator, and he was in the lineup with Russ and KD. And for the last 5 minutes of the game, he was the dude bringing the ball up. He was the dude setting everybody up. It's just once he got into this D'Antoni system, that kind of went away. And I mean, we got the 7 seconds or less Suns coaching the Nets now. So who knows, right? But I think if you make some very, 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 very necessary adjustments, you could potentially see this working out.
I agree. But you also have to look at what happened with Kyrie Irving up in Boston, where...
I'm not worried about that, though.
I'm just saying is that he's already proven that if there's other players on a team that the coaches and system fits better, that he's not capable of changing or not changing, but like adapting his play style the way that we all think he should be able to.
I think that's what's going to be nice about Steve Nash being the head coach, though.
Right.
It's because we really don't know what his coaching style is going to be. We don't know what kind of schemes he's running yet. So say they get Harden.
Right.
Steve Nash totally restructures how he's going to coach.
I'm sure.
And that's so much easier for a guy who's never coached a single NBA game, because you're like, okay, I'll just change the way I'm going to coach from the rip. Like, no problem. Rather than, I'm 5-10 years into my career and now I'm getting this whole new challenge. So I think that'll be nice for them if they can pull it off. I think, obviously he's demanding this trade now. He says this is the only place he wants to go. Like, he took everywhere off his list and is like, I'm only going to the Nets, so figure it out. I think it's going to happen eventually. And how many picks, how many other players are going to be involved? It's obviously going to be a 3-team trade because it's impossible to sign a superstar without a 3-team trade anymore because they're so expensive. But I think they'll be disgusting.
It could work.
And looking back to those Thunder days. You're right.
James Harden was a very different player, and he was coming off the bench for those Thunder teams, though.
He was, but if you look at the team, the way those three played, you take out Russell Westbrook, you plug in Kyrie Irving, who's better off ball.
Right.
Oh my God, and a better shooter. Oh,
hey, I think on paper it definitely works. My point is sometimes these super teams don't work out the way we think they could for like obvious things that we see in hindsight, but not like at the time.
Okay. Well, I think one thing that'll also really help them is that they wanted to be together.
Yeah. Hey,
when guys ask to be together, it helps so much.
Well, him and Russ wanted to be together too.
Him and Russ did want to be together, and then Russ developed Russ's ego. Honestly,
and Kyrie could develop his ego if Harden goes there as well, for all we know.
Yeah, Kyrie did that already though, and Kyrie's like an advocate of this trade. Do it again.
But see, the issue is, I think it's a couple things that are really on the line here that folks will actually have to try to change up their play style just a little bit. And I think Nash is, because he's such like you were saying, we don't know what his coaching style is yet.
Right.
So anything is liable to happen. And I think he's really going to work with guys. But okay, so if you look at Kyrie, right? Kyrie wanted out. He forced his way out of Cleveland. He goes to Boston. He wants his own team. He leaves Boston, right, to go to the Nets. He's like, you know what, guys, I'm coming home.
Right.
If he ends up on a trade block and then he's pieced out, the conversation around Kyrie does not look good after that.
No.
So I think he knows this. So I think he might try a little bit harder to make things work because he knows, yo, if I get forced out of this, you know, it's not going to look super good on my part that I just bounced around to 3 different teams after I wanted out and I never even sniffed, you know, me personally, like the finals after that. Like, granted, okay, this Boston went to the Eastern Conference Finals and stuff, but when he was leading that team, I think they got bounced in the second round, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So I think he might have to change his play style up a little bit. He might have to be a little more forgiving playing off ball. James might have to play a little more off ball. But all in all, man, you know, and this is a little bit of a philosophy thing too that I feel like is potentially could be a problem. How do you have 3 killers on the same team?
Yeah.
That's my only draw.
Golden State.
How do you have 3 killers on the same team? Because like I
Yeah,
said
but
before,
Golden
I stand
State,
by it could work.
Yeah, they're built a little differently.
It could work. I stand by that. It could work. But I am curious, how do you have 3 killers on the same team? And who's taking that last shot?
All right, this was a great talk, boys. I'm excited to see the NBA draft. It's always cool seeing the next potential superstars and all-stars enter the league and to see what suits that they'll be wearing. Please follow us on Twitter.
Definitely.
We'll be talking an NBA draft all night on, I believe, Wednesday, correct?
Yes, sir. We'll be live tweeting it.
Make sure you're staying posted.
We will be tweeting out our top 5 NBA draft suits on draft night, so please follow us and pay attention for that. This has been The Jersey Doesn't Come Off with your hosts Connor Johnson.
Donovan Kennedy.
And Freddie Goodman.
Thanks for listening. Please don't forget to share us and spread the word. And have a great day, ladies and gentlemen.
Deuces.
Peace.